My neighbor was reincarnated. I accidentally heard this secret after she rented the big house next to me. It seems that in her previous life, her scumbag boyfriend and her best friend conspired to harm her. In this life, she secretly ran away here just wanting to hide and live in peace, waiting for them to die on their own. Welcome to Ken's Stories. Hope you enjoy listening to the story. I am a failed entrepreneur heavily in debt and have been listed as discredited. My creditors are mainly banks and some financial institutions. They have sued me and filed a request for enforcement. As long as they find me, they will put me in jail for a few days. Regarding this, I have no choice but to hide. The house I am living in belongs to a friend. He used to be a construction contractor, and when he was not paid, he took the house instead of money. He has many houses like this. I chose a residential area with less than half the population to make it easier to hide. My friend rented the house to me and deliberately hid my whereabouts. I was really grateful to him. The house had never been renovated. I just bought a few simple household items and moved in. Compared to the Syrian style, it was a bit better. For someone who used to sleep outdoors like me, that was fine. For the past year, I have lived in seclusion, going in and out, carefully trying not to let anyone know my existence. Every time I took the elevator to the 23rd floor and then climbed the stairs to the top floor. Therefore, the building management also thought that this apartment was vacant, so almost no one in the area knew I was here. The floor I live on is the top floor, 3 apartments per floor, 2 elevators in the middle is a large apartment of 150 metres with a mezzanine on both sides are 2 small apartments of 50 metres with a bedroom and a living room. When she came to rent the house, she deliberately asked if the house next door was occupied and even knocked on the door to ask. But even if I was home, I wouldn't answer because I didn't want anyone to know I was there. After renting the apartment next door, she started to renovate it, closed the windows, installed solar panels, and bought all kinds of branded goods. I took advantage of the time when she wasn't home to climb up to the roof to check it out. She also bought a bunch of land and made a vegetable garden on the roof, just hoping the roof's waterproofing system was good enough. Otherwise, I was worried it would leak. If it was the end of the world, even drinking water would be hard to find. I wonder where she got the water to water the plants. Based on that detail, I'm sure this apocalypse isn't caused by heat frost or acid rain. It's probably something like zombies, otherwise she wouldn't have prepared so many things. This girl is really rich buying and storing so much that it surprised me. I estimated that living comfortably for 2 or 3 years would not be a problem. She also rented a truck that I had observed from the window near the entrance to the parking garage. Every time she appeared, she would go with that truck. It would park in the garage. She would take advantage of the quiet in the middle of the night to carry things up to the house, and the next morning she would come back to bring the empty boxes down. That way, even if the security guard watched the elevator camera, they wouldn't suspect anything. For the past 2 days, I've been looking online for information about the apocalypse, but haven't seen any news, not even the smallest one. It seems that only the neighbor girl is a reincarnated person, or maybe the government has blocked all news about the apocalypse, so we don't know anything. Seeing her carrying things over and over again, I decided to prepare myself a little. There was no need to force the main door window open. I planned to break the key in the lock later so that no one could argue with the lock and would have to break the door. My apartment was in a special location with a hallway in front of the door, and it was not easy to remove the door, which indirectly enhanced my defenses. Furthermore, I had left all kinds of advertising flyers posted outside the door all this time and had never taken them down. That makes it feel like no one lives here. I guess when people go searching every house, they will probably skip my apartment. I only plan to buy some necessities for myself. After all, the things I buy are mainly food. I usually save up words to limit going out. So even if the news about the apocalypse is wrong, I don't worry about wasting it. I don't have much money in my hand. For the past year, I've been living off writing novels. I only have about 30,000 yuan now. Fortunately, my 2 recent novels have done quite well. I just received my royalties this month. I used my friend's bank account and social media account. Even my WeChat account is my friend's. My account is currently on the blacklist. I can't spend even a cent. There's no other way. I have little money, so I have to calculate carefully. I can't buy anything extra. I went to the wholesale market to buy some rice flour, cooking oil, dried vegetables, and plastic bags. I bought a large freezer, the kind that only holds frozen food. Then I cooked the rice, put it in a storage bag, and freeze it so I don't have to waste water to cook it again. Vegetables are treated similarly. I don't have money to buy bottled water in large quantities, but I can buy a plastic container with a tight lid. This is cheap, I can just fill it with tap water at home. I also bought a bunch of drinking water disinfection tablets. With this, I don't have to worry too much about dirty water in the future. If the apocalypse really happens, it's good to be alive. No need to be too picky as long as I don't eat spoiled food. Considering the load-bearing capacity of the apartment, I don't dare to store too much water, so I have to save as much as possible. As for keeping warm, I only bought 2 electric blankets. Buying 2 is just in case they break, so I can replace them. Luckily, although my place is cold, as long as I have something to keep me warm, I can still endure winter. The clothes and bedding from last winter are still there. This year, I don't plan to buy anything more. I also bought anti-inflammatory and antipyretic drugs. The medicine in the big store in the Red Soil City is too much. I went to a small pharmacy in the Old Town. That place doesn't accept insurance cards, but the medicine is very cheap and you can even buy injections. I didn't hesitate to buy a few doses. For no other reason, it's cheap and effective, even if it damages your health in the long run, only if you can live. Do you have the right to talk about such things? I also bought a few bottles of vitamin pills, only a few UN, a bottle extremely cheap but still effective. These are all essential items. I bought myself a large weapon for self-defense. This thing is very useful regardless of whether it's a zombie or a human. As long as the opponent doesn't have a firearm or a long-range weapon, they're almost all afraid of it. Of course, I also hope to never have to use it. In the apocalypse, the scariest thing is not zombies or the weather, but the unfathomable depth of human hearts. I also bought a few gas cylinders that restaurants often use. If the electricity and gas are cut off in the future, these cylinders can be used for cooking. If I save a little, one cylinder can last for a month or even longer. Finally, I bought some construction packaging and some miscellaneous items, all for only 100 UN. Actually, I just bought it casually, but I didn't expect it to save my life and the girl next door. I didn't buy much, so it only took me 3 days to prepare everything. After that, I retreated back into my apartment, not planning to go out anymore. I was very glad that I made that decision because I discovered that she had installed a camera in front of the door. If I opened the door now, she would definitely find out. But right now, I didn't want her to know about my existence. In the following days, I started to live like before: eating, sleeping. Knowing things alone, living quietly, almost no one recognized my existence. I also downloaded movies and novels into my computer, tablet, and phone. This is my main entertainment in the future. Some people will ask, when the world ends, there will be no electricity and no water, and I don't have a solar panel. How can I use these electrical appliances? Actually, it's very simple. I have a large battery. When full, it can hold 5 kilowatt plus a 3000 double-watt converter. All electrical appliances can be used. Even the refrigerator will not be cut off. This is what I used to use when I was working far away and often lived in my car. I had converted the car into a mobile home. I installed the battery and the converter myself. I also had a separate mini generator to charge the battery. I also installed this on the car. When I sold the car, I took all of those things off. I originally planned to sell it, but I couldn't sell it, so I just left it here. I also converted the family bicycle in the house using a belt to connect it to the generator. I didn't expect it to actually generate electricity, perfectly solving the energy problem. That way I can exercise and generate electricity every day. It's really killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It's really unpredictable. Luckily, I still kept it. I told my friend about the reincarnation of my neighbor and told him to also go and collect some things. He helped me anyway, I couldn't ignore it, but he didn't seem to believe me, thinking that I had hallucinated because I had stayed at home for too long, and asked if I needed to go to the hospital for a checkup. I patiently advised him twice, but seeing that he still didn't change his mind, I gave up. I thought that if the apocalypse really happened, I could ask him to come to my place. After all, he was my benefactor. The girl next door must have reincarnated half a month early, because I saw her move into the house on the 13th day after renting it, which was yesterday, and she hasn't gone out since then. Today, everything was normal. Everyone was working as usual. I looked at the timesheet for all the days of the month, feeling a little annoyed. I probably wouldn't get my royalties this month. But I didn't dare stop writing. What if it wasn't the apocalypse, and she just came here to hide like me? If I stopped posting the story halfway, I would really be making things difficult for myself. Luckily, tomorrow is the beginning of the month. I can take a day off the day after tomorrow. I'll be a little lazy, just post 1,000 words the day after tomorrow. I'll know if I need to continue trying or not. After all, in reincarnation stories, the main character usually reincarnates 3 days, 7 days, 15 days, or a month in advance. At night, I heard a noise outside. I peeked through the peephole. It turned out that the girl had gone out and locked the anti-theft door with an iron chain, locking it several floors, checking carefully, and not being able to open it before leaving with peace of mind. Suddenly, she turned her head to look at me as if she had discovered that I was observing her. She stood still and did nothing, just looking at me for a long time. Being stared at by her through the door, I didn't dare move, didn't dare make a sound. She suddenly moved slowly, walking to the front of my house. I immediately looked away from the peephole and at the same time covered it with my hand. She seemed to be pressing her ear to the door to listen, wanting to confirm whether there was anyone in the room. I stood still, afraid that she would hear me. A phone call rang, which seemed to startle her. I heard her say softly, then immediately picked up the phone. "Hello, I'm on a business trip. I won't be back for another week." She answered the phone as she walked away, her voice getting farther and farther away. Only then did I dare to breathe a sigh of relief. Actually, I also felt a bit strange. I was living a decent life. Why was I afraid that she would discover me? Even if I were discovered, everyone lives their own business. It's not a big deal. But I still didn't want her to know of my existence. Maybe it was because I was used to hiding. On the first day, I asked for a day off to give myself a little rest, quietly waiting for the end of the world to come. I lay on the swing and continued to surf the video. Actually, I write like crazy every day, so I have almost no time for entertainment, no movies, and even less time to watch videos. Today, I watched videos mainly to see if I could stumble upon any news about the apocalypse. Just when I thought this time was useless, a video in the same city section caught my attention. The video was shot from the second floor of the shopping mall down to the first floor lobby. A woman suddenly rushed towards a man next to her and bit him straight in the neck. No matter how the man struggled, he couldn't escape. The woman's strength was too strong. When the people around saw such a crazy scene, they gathered around to watch. No one dared to rush forward to stop him. Only a few people hurriedly left. The man quickly stopped struggling. The woman stood up with a stiff and strange look and rushed towards a girl who was watching. The girl was walking around the mall with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend saw his girlfriend being attacked and rushed to stop the woman. Immediately, the woman turned around and attacked him. At the same time, the man who had fallen on the ground also stood up and ran into the crowd nearby in a strange manner. "There are zombies," everyone ran away quickly. Not knowing who shouted, everyone started to run away in panic. The video ended there. I tried to watch the video again, but found that the video had disappeared. The screen said it could not be viewed and automatically switched to the next video. I went to the history to watch the video again, but the video was gone. I didn't continue looking because I knew for sure that someone had removed the video. Even if there was a similar video, it would probably be removed quickly. From that video, I drew two conclusions. First, the zombie virus spread extremely quickly. The whole video was only about 30 seconds long. From the time the man was bitten until he stood up, it was only more than 10 seconds. Of course, this could be related to the location of the attack, but what was certain was that the infection rate was very fast. Second, the zombies were fast and strong. The first man to be attacked looked very strong. His weight was probably twice that of the woman, but he still couldn't push her away. For now, I can only draw those two conclusions. As for where to attack to kill the zombies, I don't need to worry about it right now. After all, with the amount of food I have, living stably for half a year is definitely not a problem. I don't intend to think that far anyway. There is a possibility that I won't live until then. I stood up and listened to the sounds downstairs. It was still very peaceful, only the sound of children playing and laughing. It seemed that the virus had not spread here yet. At that moment, a notification suddenly appeared on my phone. It was a video call from my friend. I immediately grabbed my phone and ran into the master bedroom, which was separated from the apartment next door by a living room. If I didn't speak loudly, she definitely wouldn't have heard. As soon as the video was connected, I saw my friend's face, as if she had just escaped death. "Holy shit, you said the woman next to you was a reincarnated person. Was it true? Damn, I really saw a zombie today. I almost got bitten." Hearing him say that, my heart skipped a beat. Anyone who encountered this would be scared to death. I immediately asked in a rush, "Where did you see it? Where are you now? Are you safe? Have you bought any items with the word?" My friend patted his chest and grinned. "Don't worry, I'm fine, I'm home. That zombie was in Hengwu Square. Luckily, I have good luck." At that time, my wife and I were in the underground parking lot. If I hadn't reacted quickly and got into the car right away, I would have definitely been bitten by that demon. Hengwu Square seems to be the same place in the video and the same city. It seems like he came back alive. He's really lucky. As long as you're home, that's good. And did you two buy anything to stock up? I asked the most important question, because if you simply went home without food, it wouldn't be very safe. Now that you mention it, I have to thank you. When my wife saw your reminder message, she felt uneasy. So today she dragged me to buy a bunch of things with words on them. Who would have thought it was true? My friend then turned the camera around. His wife's shopping addiction really showed its effectiveness. This time the things she bought were enough for the two of them to eat for at least 2 months. Seeing them prepare so carefully, I was somewhat reassured. They lived in a relatively safe villa area. As long as they weren't too reckless, they basically wouldn't be in any major danger. After finishing the call, I continued to scroll through the videos, wanting to see if there was any new news. Similar videos began to appear more and more. It seemed that the authorities couldn't remove them all in time. Suddenly, downstairs, a series of collisions and screams rang out. I immediately ran to the window and looked out. Sure enough, the zombies had spread to this area. Although they hadn't entered the residential area yet, they had already appeared on the overpass next to the apartment building. The collisions were caused by a series of car accidents, and the screams were from people who didn't understand what was going on and got out of their cars to watch and were attacked by zombies. My apartment was near Dongshan, and there was a window facing east, so I could clearly see everything on the overpass. Such bloody and horrifying scenes really created a feeling of shock and horror. I went back to bed and continued to surf videos for a while. Actually, I wasn't looking for any zombies. I was just bored, so I randomly watched them. I don't know how many videos I watched, but the screams outside still didn't stop, and the sound had already reached the residential area. I don't think I'm a weak-willed person, but at this moment, I was really affected quite a bit. I stopped looking outside. Looking only made me feel sad, but I couldn't do anything, couldn't change anything. It was unnecessary. Suddenly, I thought of something I didn't know: how long I had lived in my neighbor's previous life. According to my personality, I would definitely shrink back and hide at first, but if I ran out of food, I would definitely risk going out. I always believed in one thing: I couldn't let myself starve to death. I was a refined, selfish person. Although I wouldn't do anything illegal, I might do something immoral. I was very confident about this. The speed at which the virus spread was so fast that many people couldn't react. At first, the government wanted to suppress the news, but quickly realized that it was out of control. At 4:00 p.m., many apps on the phone received the same message at the same time. Recently, a zombie virus outbreak was discovered, and all residents were advised to stay at home and wait for the government to come to the rescue. Please believe in the country, believe in the government. We will not abandon any citizen. Seeing this message, I felt a little emotional. No matter how big the natural disaster or disaster is, as long as the political and legal system still exists, I believe there will be hope. After that emotion, I also realized the seriousness of this disaster, because this time the government directly announced the true situation of the virus. If the situation was not extremely serious, they would most likely say it was just suspected rabies or some other disease to reassure the people. Looking around the pile of supplies stored in the house, I felt much calmer. I really have to thank the beautiful girl next door. If she hadn't moved to the house next door, I probably wouldn't be as calm as I am now. When night falls, I don't have the habit of turning on the lights because I can't pull the curtains. If I turned on the lights, it would be easy for others to discover that I was alive, so I lived a life of waking up at sunrise and sleeping at sunset. Apart from the light from my phone, the rest of the house was dark. There were still a few houses with lights on in this residential area. I roughly counted the buildings opposite me, and only 12 had lights on. Of course, I couldn't see the lights on in the houses that weren't facing me, but basically I could guess that the number of living households probably didn't exceed 20. Actually, having fewer people had its advantages, and the number of zombies downstairs was also small, with only 5 or 6 wandering aimlessly in the small yard. The rest were mostly outside the residential area, as the main gate was closed so they couldn't get in. In addition, these zombies seemed to be slower at night, and their movements weren't as quick as during the day. Although this residential area was newly built, most of the residents were elderly, and most had grandchildren living with them. Young men are rare, and old people have the habit of storing food at home, so almost no one goes out. So zombies and humans live together peacefully like that. For 3 days now, there has been no power outage, no water loss, and the internet is still running normally. Every day, I just eat, sleep, play with my phone, and exercise. It's really not easy to get a lazy person like me to exercise, but there's no other way. I don't want to run away and run 2 steps and be exhausted. I'll hate myself then. I've stopped updating the story. On the second day after the zombie outbreak, I still posted normally, but the number of readers dropped to a miserable level. I guess no one reads anymore, so I decided to stop. Even if I earn money, it's useless now. Occasionally, I still see cars or people passing by on the overpass near my house, but it's almost always one way and no one has returned yet. Maybe they found a better place. I had just felt that humans and zombies were living together peacefully when everything changed the next day. That night, when I was about to sleep, suddenly the high-pitched voice of Phoenix Legend rang out from downstairs. I immediately jumped up, ran to the bed and looked down. The streetlights were still on, the scene below was quite clear. I don't know who released a drone attached to a phone. The music was coming from there. The zombies were attracted by the sound, flocking towards the east gate. Even the zombies outside became agitated, but because the night made them react slowly, and there was also a fence and a gate blocking them, they still couldn't rush in the end. I saw the drone start moving along the fence to the north, pulling all the zombies away from the east gate. Unexpectedly, this method actually created a gap in the east gate area. There were no more zombies around. A door in the opposite area opened. A couple holding a child ran out, rushing straight towards the east gate. The man held the child. The woman held a magnetic card to open the gate in one hand and the car key in the other. As soon as she opened the gate, she pressed the button to unlock the car. Cars were not allowed in the area, so cars had to be parked in the basement or on the sidewalk outside. Their car was parked right in front of the gate. The sound of the car unlocking attracted 2 nearby zombies, but the couple acted very quickly. When the zombies were still a distance away, they had already climbed into the car. Starting the car, putting it in gear, stepping on the gas, everything happened seamlessly. The car immediately started moving as soon as the zombies rushed to their side. Surely that car didn't need to turn the key, otherwise, how could it be so fast, I thought to myself, and laughed. Although their actions seemed smooth, I was still watching in a state of extreme tension, to the point of not daring to breathe loudly. The music had stopped. It seemed that the other party wasn't using a speaker to play music, but a video call ringtone, because it played for a while and then stopped completely. The drone flew in the direction the car was going, disappearing very quickly, losing the attraction of the sound. The zombies were like headless flies slowly wandering around. If you didn't look closely at their bloody mess and missing limbs, they looked no different from old people jostling to buy eggs in front of a supermarket. It seemed that I had gradually gotten used to their disgusting appearance. The feeling of fear from yesterday morning was gone, only a little nausea remained. I continued to sit by the window for a long time, both to let myself get used to it and to see if anyone else used a similar method to escape. About half an hour after the family of 3 left, a car rushed out of the underground parking lot. I didn't know which apartment the car belonged to, nor how they got there, but in any case, it got out. A short while later, 5 more cars rushed out one after another. Perhaps the underground parking lot was safer, so anyone who parked their car there could escape. The car rushing out attracted a few zombies' attention, but not many because the car drove away as soon as it came out. Not in time to cause the zombies to gather. Seeing that everything was calm, the feeling of fear also decreased a lot. I went back to bed and prepared to sleep. As expected that night, I had a nightmare about zombies. In my dream, I was being chased by them wearing simple protective gear, holding a red baseball bat. It was clear that we were almost at a safe place, but because my physical strength couldn't hold on, I was still caught in the end. When I woke up from the pain in my dream, it was already morning. I suspected that the dream was a memory from my previous life. Looking down at the layer of fat accumulated due to laziness for the first time, I willingly got on the exercise bike. I pedaled for 40 minutes before stopping exhausted, to the point that my whole body was limp. Although I had exercised a little this year, most of it was just the kind of exercise that didn't have much effect. I took a shower and massaged my body to relax my muscles. Looking back, it was almost noon. I went to the kitchen to prepare a breakfast that also served as lunch. Although it wasn't a big meal, it was enough to be full. I wanted to become a fat person who was agile and healthy. Although I wanted to increase my physical strength, I didn't intend to lose much weight, although I still ate well. If I was too skinny and went hungry, it would be even harder to endure. I am 1m68 tall, weigh 80 kilos in high school. I participated in a marathon and won the provincial prize, and I also exercised diligently. I love to exercise. I used to maintain a healthy lifestyle, but since I failed to start a business, my business was at a standstill. I gave up gaining more than 20 kgs of fat. After taking a nap, I woke up and made a proper exercise plan for myself, gradually increasing the difficulty. Life seemed to return to a stable state. Last night someone escaped. Today there were more people who wanted to try. First, a few cars rushed out of the parking garage without encountering any obstacles escaping this place. After running a short distance, one car stopped next to another car. Then 2 people got out of the car and quickly got into their own car. These 2 families could be considered the safest, completing the retreat smoothly, which made me happy for them. Because the car drove out, many zombies began to gather near the garage door, causing the number of zombies at the east gate to increase. A cardboard box was thrown down from the window below, landing right on the green space outside the residential area. Immediately after, music rang out, and it was the high-pitched voice of Phoenix Legend. The volume was so loud that it could be heard clearly even through the cardboard box. This family was really smart. They didn't have a drone. Throwing the phone down directly would definitely break it, so they put it in a cardboard box to cushion it, both protecting the phone and attracting zombies. I secretly gave a thumbs up in my heart. It was true that necessity is the mother of invention. The zombies were pulled north again, but because the location they threw it wasn't too far, the zombies were closer to the car door, making the danger level increase significantly. Soon, a couple from downstairs came out. They knew the zombies were nearby, so they acted very quietly. It wasn't until they reached the car that they unlocked the door, which didn't really attract the zombies' attention. They were still attracted by the sound. But after getting in the car, they didn't leave right away. They waited for the music to stop and then turned it on again. Soon after, from the front of the building, another couple ran out. They were also carrying a child. Oh, it seemed that the previous couple's success had given them more confidence. They were also careful, but not as gentle as the first couple. When they ran out of the gate, a few zombies turned their heads to look at the smell of fresh raw meat, which immediately attracted their attention, and they rushed to chase after this family. The little girl in the man's arms saw the zombies chasing after them and screamed her scream sharp and piercing, drowning out the music that was playing. Immediately, all the zombies were attracted by that sound. When they identified their target, they rushed after them like crazy. There was still a distance to their car, so they could only run with all their might. But the little girl's screams did not stop, coupled with the smell of raw meat. It was like a very strong zombie bait. The zombies became aggressive, screaming and speeding up. Among them, there were a few young people infected. Their speed was clearly much faster. In just a few seconds, one of them rushed forward and knocked the mother down. She fell very hard, and before she could scream, she was surrounded by zombies. Mum, hoo hoo hoo. The little girl saw her mother being knocked down and screamed miserably. The moment her mother used her life to regain that time was completely wasted. Her scream was so loud that the zombies who had paused for a while also continued to rush forward. I stood upstairs, my hands unconsciously clenched, my palms drenched in sweat without realizing it. I kept praying that the man could get into the car in time, but the zombies were not so easy to let go. As soon as the man opened the car door, the zombies behind him rushed forward, knocking both father and son to the ground. The little girl's scream rang out again, but it only lasted for more than 10 seconds before dying. The zombies took turns tearing at their flesh and blood. Not long after, the couple crawled up, joining the zombies. Only the little girl could not stand up because she was no longer intact. Her flesh was too soft. Her limbs had been torn apart by the zombies, unable to get up. Seeing that scene, my heart felt like it was being squeezed. Just a minute ago, they were a happy family of 3. Now, even as a family of 3, they were no longer there. I don't know how many people witnessed this scene, but after that, no one dared to try to leave again. The entire residential area fell into a strange silence. Back in bed, my heart was full. I kept thinking about what if that couple had used something to cover the little girl's eyes? Could she have escaped? Or if the little girl had been more obedient and not screamed? Maybe at least the 2 of them could have survived. Actually, this wasn't necessarily the little girl's fault. If I had met the couple, I certainly wouldn't blame them. But I really blamed the little girl a little. If not for her scream, they might have escaped. Maybe I really am a sophisticated, selfish person. I always choose the option that is most beneficial to myself. In the following days, I no longer looked out the window. No matter what happened outside, I didn't want to look because I didn't want to witness such a scene again. A few days later, it seemed like someone escaped from the garage. I heard the sound of cars moving, but then one day suddenly there was a car accident. The car didn't crash too seriously, but the person sitting in the passenger seat immediately opened the door and ran away. The car didn't move after that. The door was still open. No zombies rushed in to attack the driver. He must have transformed. I guessed that someone had led the zombies into the garage. They were attacked when they entered. The driver was injured. The other 2 people got into the car, but he still transformed, leading to the accident. It seemed like my guess was right. After that accident, no cars left the garage again. A week later, the power went out. This time came faster than I thought. I quickly checked the water, filled all the tanks, took a shower, and enjoyed the last moment of cleanliness. After finishing everything, I took out the generator and reinstalled it so that I could generate electricity while exercising. The electrical appliances in the house could not be turned off for the time being because there were still a lot of frozen foods inside. Shortly after the power went out, the internet went out. This was within my expectations. It was no surprise. Anyway, I had downloaded enough stories and movies to kill time. The water also went out quite quickly. From then on, I said goodbye to bathing and washing my face. Those things were just a waste now. The water from washing rice and vegetables was also settled and sterilized for reuse. I tried to save as much as possible because I felt like the water would run out before the food. I bought a lot of plastic bags so I didn't need to wash the dishes. Most of the rice and food were frozen. After defrosting, just put a little water in the pot, stir-fry it, and heat it up before eating. The biggest problem was going to the toilet. I didn't buy litter because I didn't have the spare money to buy it. I still used a plastic bag to line the trash can and tied it tightly after I finished using it. It looked a bit disgusting, but the smell wasn't too terrible. Because there was a ventilation system, it didn't affect me much. Suddenly, I felt that the saying, "dirty people live long," wasn't entirely true, but I comforted myself. In the current situation, being uncomfortable with hygiene was a small matter compared to many people. I was still lucky. Thinking about the amount of goods stored at the neighbor girl's house, I guessed that this disaster wouldn't pass quickly. I just continued to lie still. Life was still going on, in a disgusting way. I lived like that for about half a month more. I think if it weren't for the fact that I had gotten used to peeing myself for a whole year, I would have collapsed by now. I was alone. I had nothing to entertain myself with besides reading books and movies. Even during the pandemic that year, except for the first year of lockdown, I still went everywhere in the following years. At its peak, my travel code recorded 20 cities. I didn't dare to show it to anyone for fear of being arrested. But at least at that time I had relatives nearby who had internet for entertainment, which was still much more comfortable than now. I was a little jealous of the girl in the next room. Her house was spacious, and she could even go to the rooftop to enjoy the breeze, which looked much better than mine. My small apartment was indeed a bit cramped. The peaceful and boring days passed by like that. It had been half a year since the zombie outbreak, and no one in the residential area dared to go out, and there were no more people on the streets. After all, in such a dangerous environment, no one dared to go for a walk anymore. Except for the zombies, the survivors up to now were definitely people with safe shelters and adequate supplies. As for the source of those supplies, who knew? That day, a drone suddenly appeared outside. I heard its buzzing sound from the floor below, slowly rising. I had a bad feeling. I immediately hid in the dark and quietly observed its movements. I saw it fly right outside my window, slowly approaching, as if it wanted to see the situation inside. At that time, the construction material packages and the pile of miscellaneous items I had laid out had played a role in distracting the pilot. The drone hovered over the bedroom and living room windows to observe and then left immediately. The drone's departure did not make me feel relieved. To tell the truth, I felt even more nervous, feeling that something bad was about to happen. I reassured myself I must be thinking too much. After all, the drones didn't fly far. Maybe it was just the people in the area who wanted to seek help, but reality is always more cruel than imagination. That same night, an armoured vehicle appeared in front of the gate of the residential area. They used a drone to hang a piece of bleeding flesh to lure the zombies away. Then 4 people got out of the vehicle holding axes and chopping knives, killing the zombies around as easily as cutting vegetables. They didn't break the gate of the area, but climbed straight over the fence from the vehicle and got inside. The number of zombies in the area wasn't much. They were completely no match for them, and they cleared it all in a moment. The leader took out a piece of paper, looked at it intently for a while, then used a flashlight to search each house for comparison, seemingly looking for a target. I saw the flashlight stop at the window of the house next door. They discovered that someone was living there. That made me feel uneasy. However, they did not go to the next house first, but went to the opposite building, which had been marked before. I remember that house had gone shopping for a few things at the beginning and had probably been holding out until now. During the day when the drones appeared, the people in the house responded, so the group knew there were people in there. The way they entered was also very simple, breaking the window of the first-floor apartment, climbing into that house, and then opening the hallway door from the inside. As long as the door to that house was closed, the stairs were still considered a relatively safe area. About 15 minutes later, a woman's scream came from the opposite building. It was unclear whether she jumped or was pushed down. I didn't dare go over to see for fear of being discovered. Not long after, the group of people cursed and left the building. This time, they aimed straight at my building. I heard the sound of glass being broken downstairs. I quickly took out the large weapon I had prepared and lay close to the cat's eye to monitor. A moment later, someone pushed the emergency exit door with force, and a man's voice rang out. "Big brother, this unit's door is wrapped with iron chains. There must be someone inside. Damn it then, why don't you break it open and wait for me to do it?" A scolding voice rang out, followed by the sound of two other people nodding in unison. "Yes, sir." They brought professional tools and pried open the emergency exit door. After a while, they were able to cut the iron chain, and the emergency exit door was officially opened. The four of them entered the hallway. The leader pointed to the apartment in the middle. The door had just been replaced recently, and said, "This is it, Baldy. Let's see your skills." "Understood, big brother." The one called Baldy nodded immediately, taking out the tools to prepare to pry the lock. But after a moment, he stood up and said, "Big brother, this lock is stuck. It can't be opened." "Damn it then, what use are you?" The leader hit the bald man's shiny head, cursed, then turned to knock on the door. "Listen, the person inside, quickly open the door. We're just taking supplies if we have to break in. Don't expect to be left alone." The person inside didn't say anything, let alone open the door. Perhaps she was very confident in the door she had installed, thinking that they wouldn't be able to open it. But I want to say that she underestimated them. Sure enough, they stood outside the door and called for about half a minute. Seeing that there was still no movement inside, a junior pulled out a large sledgehammer of the type used to break walls. "Break the wall. Big brother, don't waste your words on him. Our building is a concrete frame structure without load-bearing walls. Even the wall with the door is only 24 centimeters thick, very easy to break. This is also the reason why I didn't try to open the windows or doors, because it was completely useless. People could break the wall to break in. Do it." The leader didn't say much, just gave his subordinates a straight order. The subordinate spat a mouthful of saliva on his hand, rubbed it, then picked up the hammer, swung it hard and started smashing the wall. One look and you could tell they were used to doing this kind of thing. Just a few hammer blows, and each house next door had a small hole. The leader waved his hand to signal them to stop, leaned in to look inside, and then laughed coldly. "Little sister, if you know what's good for you, open the door quickly. If we let you in, you'll definitely have no way to live. I've seen the girl next door's face as pretty as the school's beauty queen Fairskin. Beautiful figure in general, falling into the hands of these four people will not have a good ending. Don't even dream about it if you dare to come. I will hack you to death. Just try." The girl's voice was a little shaky, but her words were still very firm. "Continue to hit. I'll let you enjoy it first later." The leader waved his hand at his subordinate with a huge incentive reward. The subordinate saw the girl's face after hearing that sentence. He became even more excited and swung the hammer a few more times. The hole was already so big that he could crawl in if he just opened it a little wider. I gently unlocked my door. The sound of them hitting the wall was loud enough to cover up the sound of the door locking that they had investigated during the day. This floor only had people in the middle room, so they were completely off guard. Under the enthusiasm of the subordinate, the hole in the wall was finally big enough to crawl through. The four of them started laughing out loud. Their laughter was both dirty and crazy. Hey, 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 little sister, if you don't drink the offered wine, you'll have to drink the penalty wine. You must serve us properly today. Big brother let me go in first. Another guy was holding a machete and was about to rush in, but was pushed away by the leader. Get out! She's so beautiful, if you hurt her, I'll take it off and let me, the leader said as he walked in with a fire axe. The girl inside raised her knife in protest. He took a step back and swung the axe, cutting her knife away. The four guys focused all their attention on the girl. No one paid attention to me. I knew the time had come. I quickly opened the door wide, grabbed a 16-inch chainsaw and rushed straight at them. At the same time, I turned on the switch and swung it without hesitation. Four miserable screams rang out in succession. All four guys immediately lost their ability to fight. The guy who poked her had his arm cut off. The other two had deep cuts that went to the bone. The leader had a long slash from his shoulder to his back, and he lay flat on the ground, unable to move. This weapon is almost invulnerable to any living being. Even if you wear protective gear, as long as it is not metal, it is useless. The 1,000 yuan spent on this large weapon is really worth it, extremely effective. The incident happened so suddenly that all 5 people were unable to react. The girl in the house did not know what was happening outside, only saw the evil spirit who was about to enter suddenly collapse, and the other 3 people continuously screamed miserably. I retreated a little, raised the chainsaw, and pointed it at the 3 people who were still conscious. I don't want to kill anyone. You guys get out of here immediately. At this time, they no longer have any intention of resisting. After all, I look tall and strong, not to mention that all 3 of them are seriously injured, and what I am holding in my hand is not a toy. Okay, we will go right away. The 2 people who were less injured immediately nodded repeatedly, intending to go help the boss up. Wait, all 3 of you back down the stairs for me. I suddenly raised the chainsaw, forcing them to back away. One of them seemed hesitant, but when he heard the roar of the chainsaw, he could only reluctantly follow. I bent down to touch the leader's waist, and sure enough, I found a gun. Actually, I wasn't sure if he had a gun or not. I just had a hunch and wanted to check. If I didn't trust my intuition, I might have died by now. I had never touched a real gun, but I had played with fake guns and toy guns, so I wasn't unfamiliar with them. I put the gun on my person and just in case searched his pocket. There was really nothing else besides the gun, so I conveniently took the car keys. After that, I called the other 3 back and ordered them to take the person away. I wasn't worried about them having any more weapons, because looking at the way the 2 underlings respectfully treated their boss, I knew that the strongest thing was definitely in his hands. When helping the boss up, one of them reached down to his waist, but found nothing. That little action didn't escape my eyes. Looking for a gun? I asked coldly. No, I don't have one. Heh. After hearing what I said, the other 2 almost slipped and fell down the stairs. Their most powerful weapon has been confiscated by me now. All I can do is obediently obey orders. I kept a safe distance and then turned off the chainsaw. Because the boss was probably in a state of shock, crawling down to the first floor would take a long time. I was afraid that if the chainsaw ran out of battery and they suddenly counterattacked, it would be very dangerous. Those 3 really intended to fight back, but unfortunately I was too vigilant. While they didn't have firearms, their strength was not as good as mine. They were completely no match for me. I couldn't cross the line of killing, so I just chased them away. After all, with their current state, leaving this place would have a very low chance of survival, but if they died outside, I wouldn't feel guilty. The boss from the beginning to the end still did not say a word, not even moving. I kept telling myself he must be just in shock and not dead, and the one who provoked him lost too much blood and was about to succumb. The 2 underlings were forced to listen to me, each carrying an injured person, dragging themselves down the stairs. Finally, before the boss and Troc died, the 4 of them also left the door of the unit. How did I know the boss was not dead? Because I heard him groan softly. It seemed like he was in pain and waking up from the shock. I did not rush back upstairs, but stood at the door and waited for a while. When I heard the screams echoing, I picked up the chainsaw and slowly walked upstairs. I have said before I am a sophisticated, selfish person. I will not actively kill people, but that does not mean I will let them live and leave here. In any case, I cannot leave any threat to myself. I can confirm that if I do not always be careful to hide myself well. The more today, the dead people are most likely the two of us. When I returned to the upper floor, the girl in the next room was waiting for me by the hole in the wall. On the way up, I wondered if she had locked me outside the iron door. After all, I had just dealt with those 4 people right in front of her eyes, but it was clear that I had bet correctly. She was not ungrateful. Is my sister okay? I tried to keep my voice calm and harmless, and at the same time I hid the chainsaw behind my back. Although I had swung the saw a few times when I returned, there were still some blood and flesh stains on it. I didn't know if it had affected the chains of the saw blade. I'm fine. The girl shook her head. Thank you today. If it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't have survived. In fact, she had been completely desperate just now, even considering jumping off the building to avoid being humiliated by those 4. It's okay, as long as you don't blame me for being late. Even though I had a weapon, I wasn't sure if I could solve it with one move, so I didn't dare to act rashly. Actually, thinking back, I'm still scared. If I had lost my composure and acted early when they were still holding guns, I would probably be lying on the ground right now. Hearing me say that, the girl shook her head again, looking very sympathetic. I'm Mung Nanlu, and you, Jo Yan, my neighbor. We introduced each other simply. She didn't intend to invite me into her house, so I planned to go back, but before leaving, I still wanted to make sure that both sides were safe. Do you have any more chains? Lock the door, rest a bit tonight, and we'll figure it out tomorrow. I'll lock it right away. Meng Nanlu nodded, immediately went into the house to get 2 new chains and brought them to lock the emergency exit. I picked up a few broken bricks on the floor left by them breaking the wall and inserted them between the emergency exit and the wall. Although the number wasn't much, it was enough to prevent the door from being opened from the outside. Unless someone broke the wall or damaged the exit door again. Otherwise, no one could break in from that direction. The night was quiet and I didn't bother to see how Meng Nanlu was doing. Anyway, I slept soundly unaffected by what had just happened. The next day, I went up to the 17th floor to carry back to my place some empty bricks and ceramic tiles that the house hadn't used yet. I used them to pile them up to connect the wall to the exit door, completely blocking the entrance. If anyone wanted to break in, the only way was to break the door. I also roughly handled the big hole in Meng Nanlu's house. Due to the lack of water, the amount of cement and sand mixed was not much. The layer of mortar was just for show, completely useless for defense. After finishing, she invited me into her fortress. From yesterday until now, I had never proactively asked to come in. This showed that she had lowered her guard against me. Actually, even if she was on guard, it would be useless. I have 2 big weapons in my hands now. If I have any bad intentions, she won't stand a chance against me. I looked around and had to admit that this girl was a real word collector. There was almost no room to walk in the house shelves, and supplies were piled everywhere. She had prepared hot pot. Normally, I am not a foodie, but now looking at the steaming hot pot in front of me, I couldn't help but swallow my saliva. In this apocalyptic time, being able to eat a hot pot is truly a blessing. Sister DM, which flavour do you like, spicy beef tomato or mushroom water? Man Namlo placed several spice packets in front of me for me to choose. I'm not picky, I can eat spicy food, you choose whatever. I waved my hand to signal her to decide. Mang Nam Lo nodded, chose the spicy beef packet, tore it open and put it in. She used a mini gas stove, which was much more convenient than my large gas cylinder stove. When did you move here? I thought the house next door was empty. Sitting there feeling awkward, she randomly found a topic to talk about. Actually, this was something she was very curious about because the house was not soundproofed well, and she had never heard any noise from the house next door. She had lived here for a year, even before I came. It was just that she had social phobia and did not want to interact with other people, so when I knocked on the door, she did not open it. I did not want to bring up the past, so I made up an excuse. Actually, my debts were all due to bank loans and failed startups and business losses, not because I did anything unethical. So that was it. Actually, I also had a hunch. Many times I felt like there was someone in that house, but I did not see anyone, so I ignored it. We continued to chat for a while. Do you know when this disaster will end? Almost finished eating, I asked a question that I was very interested in. Hearing that Mang Nam Lo's actions paused a bit, but then quickly adjusted, shook her head. I don't know how much longer I can hold on anyway. I've already stocked up enough food for 2 years. You know about my reincarnation, don't worry, I won't tell anyone. I just want to know how long we have to try to escape. I decided to say it directly, although the reincarnation story sounded very exciting, but I'm sure she thought I kept it a secret, so when I mentioned it, she was a bit surprised. But she quickly calmed down, shrugged, and said a bit dejectedly, I really don't know. In my previous life, I only lived for 3 months, then was framed to death by my scumbag boyfriend and my best friend. I don't know what happened after that, so I just saved enough supplies for 2 years. Hearing that, I nodded slightly, secretly sighing in my heart. It seems like this time I have to prepare for a long battle. Waiting in vain is the most uncomfortable thing, and who knows what else will happen during that time. In the following days, we started to exchange resources with each other. To be more precise, I relied on Nan Lu a bit. The supplies in my hands were almost used up, so I had to eat her food. She was very straightforward, telling me to eat freely. She was able to live until now because I saved her. Now being able to continue to keep these resources is already very lucky. After I came, Meng Nan Lu had a lot more free time because I did all the chores. After all, I was eating her food, and having her serve me was really shameless. About 3 more months passed. We didn't meet any more search parties. I don't know what else to look for. Maybe everyone knows that our area is sparsely populated. There's nothing to loot, so they're too lazy to come. That day, I was on the rooftop to get some fresh air. The high walls on all sides blocked my view from below. As long as I didn't stand close to the edge, no one would see me, even if someone passed by below. Although the air smelled unpleasant, I still liked to come up here to look around. Suddenly, the sound of a helicopter rumbled loudly, startling me, and I ran home. Man Nam Lo also heard the engine and quickly ran to me. Sister DM, what's going on? Don't go out for now, I'll go get my weapon. I patted her hand to reassure her and quickly left the room. There were vegetables grown on the roof which were easy to detect from the air. I didn't know if it was human or enemy. I could only prepare to fight. But when I turned back, the helicopter was flying quite close, and a voice came from above. Dear citizens, we are the Z country's People's Army. The country has successfully researched a vaccine and antiviral drug for zombies. Please persevere. The zombies will soon be destroyed. Hearing this, Meng Nan Lu and I glanced at each other, both of our eyes filled with emotion and joy. This was truly a piece of news that added hope to a life that had been hopeless. We hugged each other in excitement. She almost jumped on me, smiling brightly. The helicopter dropped a supply box when flying over each roof. When it reached our roof, the droppers deliberately avoided the vegetable growing area. Perhaps they saw the vegetables and knew there were people living there not wanting to ruin our efforts. I went to pick up the box. Inside, there was food, water, and a piece of paper. Keep it up. That night, Man Nam Lo and I treated ourselves to a small luxury meal. Today's good news was worth celebrating. It was still hot pot, but this time it was much more sumptuous, to the point that I felt like I had gained 1 kgs. In the following days, the helicopter returned every 3 days. Every time they saw that the box had been picked up, they would drop a new box. The quantity was clearly more than the first time. Half a month later, the large drone started spraying zombie-killing chemicals. The smell was very pleasant. Even we were a little unfamiliar after a long time of only smelling corpses. As soon as the zombies came into contact with the drug, they would immediately lose their ability to move, lying flat on the ground like real corpses. After spraying the drug, the army on the ground began to clean up. They brought hot weapons, completely destroyed the remaining zombies who looked stupid, and then used trucks to transport the corpses away. The car that had been parked at the East Gate for 3 months was finally towed away. When the soldiers opened the door, a zombie rushed out from inside. I clearly remembered that it was the junior who had broken the wall. I secretly felt lucky because at that time I had intended to search the car for things, but fortunately I was stopped by Man Nam Lo. The cleanup work outside the army was too big. I even saw civilians participating, probably survivors who had been rescued, volunteering to help. Our country has always had a close relationship between the military and the people. The army did its best to save people, and when the people had the ability, they would try to help the army. When the corpses were processed, people started to go to each house to give vaccinations. I had already opened the emergency exit because there was no longer any danger. A group of soldiers escorted 2 medical staff along. When they saw the large hole in the wall in front of Meng Nanlu's house, a hint of doubt appeared in their eyes. Fortunately, Meng Nanlu immediately explained to me. When they knew that I was the one who saved people and not the attacker, their attitude immediately softened. I also breathed a sigh of relief. Luckily, I had never done anything immoral. This vaccine was very special. After being injected, the zombies would consider humans as their own kind. Even if they pressed their faces against it, they would not be attacked. Meng Nanlu was truly a rich woman. There were several houses in this city in the past to store supplies she sold, most of them only keeping 2. One was left by her parents, the other was used to trap her bad boyfriend and her best friend. We moved all the remaining supplies to her house. She temporarily took care of me, who had no home to return to. Life went on like that until the government finally dealt with the zombie problem. Man Nam Lo and I became sisters from then on. We together contributed a little to rebuild the country after the crisis. Thank you for listening to the story at Ken Stories. I hope you have relaxing and fun moments. Don't forget to give me a like and subscriber, so I have more motivation to make more videos.